Hey, welcome to Hangar Z Podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. In this episode of the Hangar Z Podcast, Mike Calhoun chairs the conversation, along with Jason Quinn from the Real ResQ Podcast, to talk with the chief pilot at Two Bear Air Rescue, James Hickman. Join us as we unravel the story of James' aviation career from his humble beginnings in Oregon to the peaks of Montana. The ultimate mission of Two Bear Air Rescue is saving lives. Based near Whitefish, Montana, Two Bear Air Rescue provides world-class aviation support for search and rescue operations across the Northwest United States. Whitefish philanthropist Michael Goguen supports all costs of this program, leaving zero cost to the taxpayers. James' path to becoming a seasoned pilot wasn't without its twists and turns. After honing his skills as a helicopter and fixed-wing flight instructor in Kalispell, Montana, he immersed himself in the world of backcountry charter flying, where every flight presented its own unique challenges. But it was during his time as an instructor that fate intervened, as James found himself collaborating with the visionaries behind Two Bear Rescue, a burgeoning search and rescue outfit. As James accumulated flight hours and experience, he seized the opportunity to join Aero Helicopters in Alaska, where he had the opportunity to fly above the breathtaking landscapes of Denali National Park. His time in Alaska proved to not only be exhilarating, but also transformative, laying the groundwork for his eventual return to Two Bear Rescue as a pilot. For 8 years now, James has been an integral part of the team, leveraging his experience to save lives and navigate the rugged terrain of Montana's backcountry. Beyond the cockpit, James embraces the mountain lifestyle, indulging in his passions for skiing, mountain biking, and paragliding. His love for adventure knows no bounds. Thank you to our sponsors, Bell, Collins Aerospace Goodrich Hoist and Winch, and Precision Aviation Group. Cheers.
Welcome to the Hangar Z Podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. The Hangar Z Podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Join your host, John Gray, Jeff Ratkovich, and Jack Shanley.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like you're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, through the shotgun, through something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
4 on the stop. You're in custody.
Good advising code 4 on the stop.
Hello, ladies. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to the Hangar Z Podcast. I am not John Gray. I wish I was. I'm very thankful to John for handing over the reins to me today. My name is Mike Calhoun. I'll be the host today. And with me here today, helping me out, is a man that needs no introduction. Everyone knows him and loves him from the Real ResQ Podcast. Jason Quinn, thanks for being with me, brother.
What's up, dude? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I feel like John signed me off for my check ride, and I'm on a check ride right now with you, Quinny. You're a professional. My first time, but we're gonna have a good time. So
we are.
Is there a PTS for that?
Yeah, I was on the job training, man. Just very short. So today we have a really great guest here. We're coming to you from HAI, now VAI, 2024 Anaheim, and we have a wonderful guest here today. We have James Hickman. He is the chief pilot for Two Bear Air out of Montana. So James, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm calling this a virus con.
Yeah. Oh, wait, we're going to have all
Everybody's sniffling and sneezing, coughing around here. So.
Have all kinds of goodies.
You keep that sniffling, sneezing over there.
I know, right?
I did get COVID in 2020 from here.
Okay, good to know.
When it was first started.
Yeah.
When COVID was.
Yeah, that's you're not selling me on anything. You just can I get out of this camera? Can I get out of here? Can I back up?
Yeah, well, let's get right into it. Our time is short, but I want to get as much in as I can with you, James. I want to give you a little memory bait right now just to kind of jog your memory. We'll talk about your current position with Two Bear Air, your flight experience, the current helicopter airframe you're using now, the airframe that you're going to be using in the future here pretty soon. Maybe the history of your organization, the really unique public use aspect of that as well. Your day-to-day operation. What does that look like for you guys? The public use uniqueness, and really your geographical response area. You guys have a very large area that you cover. And if you want to share maybe one or two of your most memorable SAR calls, rescues that you...
Which is the whole reason I'm here.
Yes.
I know, right?
We love these stories. We love these stories of rescues. And maybe some type of incident where you scared yourself in a helicopter.
Never done that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We love to pay forward information and advice to younger pilots Like, what would James Hickman now tell 100-hour James Hickman, in the past, so we'll kind of cover that at the end.
Sure.
So let's get started with, talk about what you do day to day as the chief pilot.
That's a long list. So you're going to need to ask those questions again here because I've already forgot half of them.
Quinny will help out too.
I was actually I was following along with that, and I'm like, I don't even remember what number 1 was.
Yeah,
Shoot, let's go.
Where do we start? Two Bear Rescue is pretty unique, where Two Bear ResQ is a foundation, and it's a philanthropic foundation. So we have a benefactor. He pays for all the operations and all the rescues. So unlike any other organization. So, yeah.
And he's a super cool guy.
Yeah, he's great. So I think I started the second year or so, he got trained up as a rear air crew and started running the hoist and going down on the hook. And he had a great time and was always stoked when I called and said, Mike, grab your stuff, let's go. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, he actually went through like EMT basic school as well or something like that.
That was the requirement. So yeah, if he wanted to run the hoist or do the rescues, he had to.
That's amazing. That's great.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy that he does not need to do that. And
no.
He's like, you know what? I want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to go all in on this. It's one of the coolest things about Mike that I dig. Like, wow, you went from like this level to like maybe you might have just downgraded going to like, but he didn't. He took it full on, and I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Is he here?
He's not here.
Okay.
He was going to try and make it down, but he's super busy working on some other projects right now. So every time I see him, he's like, I'm going to get back in the helicopter.
Of course.
One of these days, this is going to settle out, and I'm back on board. So
what does that mean to have that kind of executive sponsorship and buy-in for your organization? That's got to be amazing.
I mean, it's incredible. He wants this organization to be world class. He wants to have the latest and greatest. So, all the technology, and he wants us to be the best trained.
Everywhere else, the biggest constraint is money, right? And fortunately, you guys don't seem to have that issue. And
yes, and I mean, no,
to an extent.
Yeah, we're still on a budget. We're not down here cutting checks at HAI, and this, that, and everything.
Yeah.
So we're doing our best to.
It sounds amazing that you and we got to talk just, on Monday. For those who don't know, we had James over at our organization, our unit, and he got to go on a ride along with us.
Wait, where do you work?
Riverside County Sheriff.
Oh, yeah, you might want to mention that.
Okay.
You're just throwing that out. Like, I know where you work, but remember, you're taking over for John.
Yes, I know, yeah.
Gosh, is that a gig on a check ride?
What's that? I'm already behind the power curve, man. Oh my gosh, I know.
Bro, I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. Anyway, Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Got it. That's where you are.
So James got to come with us and go on a ride along, and we went on a live rescue call, and it was a pretty complex medical hiker issue with a lot of moving parts en route. So he got to see.
Yeah, so I think just to make sure we get it out there, I was a qualified non-crew member.
Yes.
So there we go.
Of course you went on a call while you were out there doing like a little test on an aircraft. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it was perfect.
James.
Absolutely. So yeah, it was great. I mean, because as we get into this discussion, we're moving to the 145 platform, and it was nice to see that in action. And then we learned some stuff. You guys could get a pet bag in the aircraft with the seat back there. Now the guys.
Yes. Yeah, it was a good time, good experience, and I'm glad you had a good time. Got to take a lot of good notes or comparabilities to take back to his shop for when they build out the back of their 145 for all the rescue gear and so forth. So
right.
I would imagine that's a lot of your daily duties as well as the chief pilot, selection and training. And
yeah, so let's talk about my daily duties. It's like making sure this bill gets paid. Why? Yeah. I mean, that's the majority of it is just paying bills and trying to keep the lights on in there. I mean, it's not that challenging. We have bookkeepers that do it, but I got to direct all that stuff, and it consumes a lot of time. And then answering emails and making phone calls, and I was the chief pilot, and I stepped down because of did it long enough, and it's a lot.
It definitely consumes a lot of time when you open up your email in the morning. You got like 30 emails you got to respond to, and you're like, and people that are not in that position, they're like 30 emails, whatever. I go through that, half of them are junk. No. These are like a dissertation for every email that you have to respond to, and you're like, well, what just happened to my 8-hour day? I sat in front of a computer all day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you haven't done one thing that you're actually supposed to for training wise or currency wise or
Next thing you know, you haven't been in the cockpit in a week.
Right, exactly.
Or
I've got a whiteboard just with things that I want to get to, and I'll go on a hitch and not touch my list of to-dos.
Yeah, doing the chief pilot position correctly, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And it's very time consuming if you do it right.
But the beautiful thing is, Real ResQ is a pretty small organization right now. Who knows where it will go? But I've got a great crew, great support, and I can start dishing out some of the duties that are around there, and I get help.
Well, on that note, let's talk about the crew. Let's talk about how you guys are structured. I met one of your paramedics and another pilot. Great guys. Wow. So tell me about those guys. Where do they come from? Because there is the public use aspect of deputy sheriffs as well. Can you talk about that?
We got Real ResQ, the foundation, and then we are managed by the Flat County Sheriff's Office. So we got that partnership going on. There are 3 of us pilots, and we have 5 paid rear air crew, which has been super helpful, and full-time mechanic, and then 6, I believe, I always lose track, 6 deputies that are tied to the aircraft. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And what is some of the selection and training that the deputies go through and anyone on board your aircraft?
Yeah, so any of the rear air crew, they all have to be EMT basics. So that's the minimum level. 2 of the guys, we have our medical director. He's a paramedic, physician assistant. So he oversees all that stuff. And then Chuck Curry's our old Flat County Sheriff, helped start the whole program back in the day, 10 years ago. Or actually longer than that, but so he's one of the other paramedics. So,
yeah, it was interesting. He said a 28-year career in law enforcement. I asked him what he did, previous life or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, it was 28 years. The last 8 years, he was the sheriff of the county." And
right,
that was impressive to have a guy like that working on your bird with you. Yeah, that's great.
I think it was awesome. Actually, so I knew these guys very well. I had an opportunity to go up and train with you guys a couple years in a row. Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's the training environment up there is incredible. But the crews you have, and I'll throw Chuck in there. He was not only was he the sheriff, he was getting his hands dirty. He was flying on medevacs and not only doing the sheriff job in the office, but next thing you know, he's on video of like taglining somebody out of like snowy valley of some dude just got like gnarly wrecked by some skiing or whatever, and I'm like, bro, like you're in it.
He's
out
like,
there,
oh yeah,
dude, I love this stuff. I love what I do. And
it's awesome.
Yeah, the fact he's working for you guys full time, I think is incredible. So
yeah, and the current sheriff, Brian, he used to be part of the crew.
Yep.
You remember working with him. So, but he's just in the county's doubled in size of the population, and I don't know how many deputies they have now, but he's just like, you know what, I can't do everything. I gotta step back. So
let me talk about your rear crew real quick, which is one of the things I love. So you said your medical director is currently like standing duty, like on call. Your medical director, that never happens.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right there.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got Chuck, who's a retired sheriff's, like he was the sheriff of the whole department, working for you. Prior Coast Guard rescue swimmer. There's a little diversity.
Right.
Then you've got a prior pararescue. Dude, who's your 5th guy?
Chris, he's a ex-Marine, and I don't know the exact.
Oh, good. So I don't remember the exact as well, but such a diverse crew of the backgrounds, and yet everybody's coming together. Yeah, because you have so much that you've learned from every agency and everywhere you've been, that you come together, and all of a sudden you're bringing new ideas and new tips, new tricks, and this, that, and the other thing. It's
a lot of
incredible.
good, diverse background.
Oh, heck yeah.
Really help.
Yeah. And
I love it.
And we're still learning. We've got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, we all do. We got to have that mindset of, hey, I'm a 1-hour pilot every time again, and just can't get cocky, can't get arrogant. That's when bad stuff happens, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what do you got? What are you flying right now? What's your platform?
Bell is proud to sponsor Vertical Helicasts and their vision to hold meaningful mission, safety, and best practice conversations in the helicopter industry. The lessons learned from these conversations will undoubtedly shape the future of both new and veteran helicopter operators.
Bell 429, it's our second aircraft. So we've had this current model, or current aircraft, for 2 years, and it's been a fantastic machine. It's fast, it's smooth, it's had plenty of power to get up to the altitudes we've needed it to, but we're kind of finding that we're bulking out, and we need something with a little higher payload.
Yeah.
So,
You saw on ours, it's I guess we carry a little bit more than you guys do.
Right.
And there's stuff getting stuffed in the back all the time, and when we go ALS next year, we're gonna have to put a life pack back there, and a heart rate monitor, and so another several pounds.
Yeah, you guys will want to reach out to Scott, our medical director, and chat about some of that stuff. So maybe you can help with the ALS transition, but streamline things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that could be that's going to be a whole new stand-up thing too. But so in the future, and you have a 145, is that right?
We do,
yeah.
We were just over at the Airbus booth, going through the purchase agreement, looking at this and that. I mean, we got some big ticket items that need to be kind of decided on in the next couple weeks, so they can get that ordered up and sitting wherever it's going to be built.
Could there be a possibility that this would be at the next year's show floor?
Nope.
Oh, damn.
But if you want to take a bet on that, I would be happy to.
No, I don't want to take a bet on that because I'll probably lose, and then I'm going to owe you whiskey or something.
Yeah, right? Bummer. We're still a couple years out on that one.
Okay.
So.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
But yeah, it seems to be a fairly popular aircraft.
It is. They retooled it. They're made in Germany primarily, and as of 2 years ago, they can only make like 91 a year. And somehow they upped it to like about 120 a year now.
Oh, wow.
And even with that, it's still, you guys are Q2 26, I think you said?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's
gosh.
That's some lead time, yeah.
Yeah. It's
So-
far in the queue. Okay,
Yeah.
definitely not next year.
Maybe Anaheim go around next time. Who knows?
27, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, James, where did you start flying? How did you get into flying? Was it a childhood dream of yours? Tell me all about that stuff, man.
This
Start
is
from
going
the
to be a
beginning.
pretty short segment.
That's all right, man. We'll get it out of you. We'll figure it out.
I spent several years working for the U.S. Forest Service, pounding the ground, and ended up rappelling out of helicopters. But it was a way.
Rob.
Yeah.
Rob, yeah.
Yeah, Rob Monday.
Okay.
Same thing. Yeah. Anyway.
It was
Australia,
a way to
Canada.
to pay for college.
Yeah.
Every summer I'd pack up the bags, go away for the summer, and I'd show up literally the night before the quarter started in September, and I'd make enough money to just pay for my entire year and run out of money in June and go right back to work. So that was...
You have that in common with John Gray, too, as well, because he was in college, and he was a firefighter, I think, for U.S. Forest Service.
Okay, yeah.
Paid his way through college as well, so
Yeah.
you guys got that in common?
Fantastic way to do
Yeah.
it. I mean, and I loved it. I mean, it was great.
Nothing wrong with hard work.
Yeah. And so I spent a couple years rappelling with the Wenatchee Valley Rappel crew. And after that second year, I was just sitting back there thinking, that guy up front has it figured out.
What's he all about? Yeah.
He's got a better, I like where that's going. And so I just pulled the plug on the Forest Service, took out a loan, and went to flight school. I had some advisors there. I call them my advisors or counselors from the Forest Service, the air crews I worked with, the pilots I worked with. So I still keep in touch with a couple of them. They give me tips and tricks.
That's great. Kind of like mentors for you.
Yeah,
initially,
exactly.
and-
It was fantastic. Yeah. So they kind of directed me towards a specific make and model helicopter and
For training?
Yep.
Yeah. So what'd you learn in?
The Schweitzer.
The Schweitzer? That's
Yep.
what I got my private in, the
Yeah.
300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Great
is-
little helicopter.
I love that thing. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, I think that's that airframe I have more flight time in than any other aircraft.
Oh, is that right?
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So walk me through that. You got your private, you got your commercial, and then first job.
I'm dual rated, so I went back and forth between fixed wing and helicopter, and just private instruments, commercial, CFI, and it was shortly after that 2009 financial crisis. So aviation, there wasn't a lot of movement in aviation.
It took a hit.
So I mean, CFIs weren't moving up into the airlines or moving on to other heli jobs. So it was tough. It was a tough market, and I came out of flight school with CFI airplane, CFI helicopter, and nothing. This was all in the Portland area, and it was like, well, I can just go straight airplane, but I want to fly helicopters. And so now I'm targeting flight schools that have both Schweitzer and Cessnas or Pipers. And I had heard about this little flight school out in Kalispell, Montana. So I just printed off a resume, drove out to shake a hand and drop off a resume. They called me up a week later, said, why don't you come out to Montana? And so I moved out there. Yeah, spent 3 years instructing. The helicopter was where I wanted to be. But it was, feast or famine sometimes with the students and the weather and everything else. And so the airplane paid the bills for me. But
you had more work in the airplane?
Well, more instruction.
Yeah.
So it took me 3 years to build that flight time. And at that point, Two-Bear ResQ was starting to it was starting to kick off. I guess I left when the 429 showed up. But turns out the owner of the flight school and chief pilot there was the previous chief pilot at Two-Bear ResQ. So I had a history with
nice
with him. And like any other CFI, it's like, you build up your hours till you're over 1,000 and then it's take the next step. Next step is turbine helicopters. So thankfully I got a job with Era Helicopters in Alaska. And went up and flew tours and utility out of Denali.
Oh,
for
beautiful!
2 years.
So, what was that like?
Beautiful.
What kind of flying did you do daily on a tour near Denali?
It was incredible.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's Alaska around Denali. Of course, it's incredible.
Yeah,
that freaking awesome.
Temsco owns the base now, and they got a few helicopters up there. But that is an absolute gold mine for new pilots. So it's fantastic. I mean, we did all our glacial landings east of the park on state or BLM land.
Okay.
And, we were the only ones out there. It was fantastic. And then we'd do a couple park tours. But, it was summer camp for me. And then we'd go up there and we lived right there at the base. I think they've changed things around recently. But we lived just above the helipad. So it was a short 30-second commute to work.
Oh, wow.
And we had a kitchen and then all the ground crew lived there. And it was a lot of fun. So
was that a pretty busy flight schedule for you?
Yes, we always had the early morning flight, and always had the late evening flight. So every day, and we'd show up with our required days off before the season started, so then they could just work us hard until the next quarter, and then we'd have to figure out how to get 4 days off in that quarter before we were done at the end of September. So. It was a good time. But after that second season, I got a call from Chief Pilot Two-Bear ResQ and said, I've been kind of doing this all by myself until we figure out how this program's going to work, and it's time for a break, and I need a pilot. And I said, are you interested in interviewing, coming down, maybe taking a position? And I thought about it because at that point I was kind of torn. I was like, just getting into the industry, and I was like, man, I got the whole world, here, and I want to go fly in Antarctica, and I want to get in 212s, and I want to go do fire stuff, and then and now I got an opportunity to go Two-Bear ResQ, and I'm like, well, that is kind of a too good to be true opportunity, and if I decline it, I don't know if I'll ever make it back. So I said, yeah, sure, it sounds pretty cool. And so 8 years later, here I am. So
that's awesome.
Let's back up to the founder. And what is the origin story there for it? Because not everybody just starts a search and rescue helicopter operation. Was there a personal story that led him to do this, or is it just out of his altruism that he wanted to do it with an interest in helicopters?
I don't think there's a personal story there. It was kind of getting drawn up by our previous chief pilot, the Sheriff Chuck, and then another individual. They're kind of like, we don't have an air resource in Northwest Montana. We got the Air Force at Maelstrom and Great Falls, and then the Army Air National Guard in Great Falls. But there was nothing close, and there was a need. So they're drawing up this plan and thinking, well, this is, they're kind of adding up numbers and whatnot. It's like, wow, this is going to be kind of pricey. So they took it to Mike and said, this is what we're kind of thinking. Any interest? And he was, a little bit taken away that there wasn't a resource around. So
they had an existing relationship, or Chuck did maybe with Mike, and
nope. Just, cold call, knock on the door.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Buzz the ringer.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Right.
That's
And
quite a cold call.
Yeah. So he was pretty stoked on it. And he's like, yeah, you know what? This is a great idea. How about if I just fund it all and nobody gets a bill? And if, save one life, I get a return on my investment. And, we've just gone over 1,000, not rescues, but missions, because we have a law enforcement component of our work. So
that is amazing that the folks there within that area can enjoy that benefit if they need a helicopter for rescue. Which again, let's talk about that response area, man. You guys have a pretty large response area. Can you talk about that? How far out you guys go?
We're trying to kind of, narrow it in, kind of. I mean, so we're throwing a distance right now of approximately 300 nautical miles, and we kind of just need to pull things back.
That's long.
That's a big area.
Yeah. So that gets us into central Idaho, down to the Boise area. And then, of course, Eastern Oregon, Washington, almost. I mean, it's just scraping into Western Washington. And then, 300 nautical miles and go to the other side of Montana. So, but pretty broad coverage area. But
which is a little bit outside of just the county of Flathead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Last spring, we got a call for assistance with a hoist out in near Winthrop, Washington. And at first, they called and they're asking for help. And I was like, Winthrop? No, I grew up in Washington. That's a long ways out. And I started, throwing it into ForeFlight and figuring out distances and stuff. And I was like, wow, it's actually closer than Stanley, Idaho. And we're always in Stanley, Idaho. So, let's go to Winthrop.
Yeah. So that's some serious mission planning. So talk about that. You guys get that call. Like, what's the farthest you've had to go personally for a mission, and what were some of the challenges and the planning? Can you talk about that?
Thank you to our sponsor, Collins Aerospace Goodrich. Whether your mission is saving lives or servicing high-value assets, Collins Aerospace's Goodrich hoists stay ready to assist. Features such as single-point payout reduce the potential for hoist-induced load swings, enhancing overall safety.
Yeah, so I mean, Stanley's pretty far out there. It's remote. There's no fuel nearby. Might be able to sneak some fuel out of a trailer that's at the airport, but I need to talk to those guys. They said yes, but we never.
Are we talking like pack a bag, change of clothes sometimes, like that far?
Yeah, I always throw a little bag in, but we typically make it home.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, Stanley, the Sawtooths, if we're going down there for a rescue, there have been times where the coordinates are good. We know exactly where we're going. I can get up to 11,500, 12,500 and just, sniff out a tailwind, start sipping fuel and point it straight there and get down and do a quick rescue. As you know, it takes less than 10 minutes sometimes, hopefully, and then drop the party off at the Stanley airport and grab fuel and head home. So sometimes I can make it work, and then other times, the coordinates aren't super good. It sounds like a pretty complex situation on the ground, so the rescue specialist is going to take a little extra time. So then maybe I'll throw on a few extra gallons in Missoula or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe some search fuel, a little bit extra for on-station time. How many evolutions you got to do on the hoist? How many hovers is that going to require?
Right.
It starts drinking down the fuel pretty quick.
Right.
Depending on the altitude and whatnot. So it gets to be a pretty complex mission planning.
Yeah, it gets challenging because, I mean, if you're going up to Bora Peak, the highest peak in Idaho, I've done a hoist at 11,000 feet up there.
And, wow.
That's impressive.
So it's like I'm stopping in Salmon, Idaho to put on 25 gallons. And, it's like, and I'm calculating, I'm like, well, how much do I need for this mission? And are they going to be at the right spot? And am I going to spend 30 minutes looking for them?
And then there's your fuel, and then you find them, GPS them, and then, sorry, I got to go back because I spent all my hover fuel looking for you, these 30 minutes or whatever, and And we would be like that when we flew the A-Stars primarily for search and rescue up at Mount San Jacinto. You know, it's 35 gallons on board, pull the first one up, fly them down to the parking lot, put in 15, lather, rinse, repeat, depending on how many it is. And it can do it. And it's done it. Yeah. So tremendous amount of planning, and hopefully you don't run out of fuel when you find them and you have that hover time to pull them out.
And I hate going through the whole process of shutting down for 15 gallons.
Yeah,
but, you know?
I know, right?
You need it.
Can you guys over the wing or just pull the trigger?
Hot fuel?
Hot fuel?
A lot of FBOs won't do it.
Oh, yeah. There's only a handful that I know of that do it. Most of them are in Louisiana. Convenient.
Oh.
Some of the places we stop are self-serve, and it's no, I haven't done it, but it's crossed my mind.
Yeah.
It's
but
so much.
I didn't know if it was like a written policy in you guys' ops manual or something like that. Hey, we don't do hot gas or anything like that.
I mean, at the end of the day, it takes 30 seconds to cool the turbines off, shut down,
okay.
30-second warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that second start is a quick start, I'm sure, in the 429, I'm sure, too.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
I'm thinking more of like a 2-minute cool off.
Sit for 30 minutes. No. Yeah.
Let's go into we got where you fly, where you've flown, what you've done. You got a wonderful organization, a wonderful sponsor that keeps you guys up in the air and gets people home. I love that about Two Bear. That's just such a great, unique aspect of this organization. You know, plus with the public use, you've got deputy sheriffs from Flatiron there, and it's amazing. That's great. So let's talk about some of them. Have you had a really complex rescue in your career? And what did you do? I want to hear start to finish. So does Quinny.
I'm so excited
What the
about this
planning,
already.
the call, how did it go down? Did it work out correctly? Who was involved? Did you meet them afterward? With anything you could tell us?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Quinny and I were talking last night or something like that about some of the training that we've done in years past. And
Was that SR3? Did you?
Priority 1 Air Rescue. I went out there with them for a little while. And then when Will came on with you guys full time, he was one of the main trainers that come over. So you guys had Dennis come down a couple times, but then you guys just did in-house. I mean, you hit a level, and as with Riverside, once you hit a certain level, I got to advocate, yes, you should absolutely get outside training or somebody to come evaluate. But when you hit a certain level at one point or another, you're like, all right, guys, I got you. Thank you for the basic stuff. We're at the next level now, and or 2 levels up. So,
yeah, when you're busy, you're getting real business, and you're doing your internal quarterlies or monthly trainings. And if you're staying current and busy, it's kind of like what we did. We had been doing it, and I wanted SR3 to come in and just say, hey, are we right and tight, or are we all screwed up? Please tell us, and we can learn. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that in continuing to grow and continuing to advance in your skill set. You can never reach a plateau. You're always can be learning, and we learned a lot too from you guys. Absolutely, we still implement things to this day, like we have the hoist operator read off the checklist instead of the co-pilot. So he's got it on his wrist there. It's amazing. They love it. We love it. But it's great.
So with that, it's kind of funny when I remember being with Tier Air a couple times. There's like I don't want to say infancy stage, but it had only been like 2-3 years, maybe 4 years that you guys have been going up. So we're still going over a lot of basic stuff. But when you go up there and you're like, all right, just get one dude into there, and you're like, and then they kind of look at us like after year 3 and 4, and they're like, really? Let me show you what we can do now. And I'm like, next level, let's go. So now all of a sudden we're in major river, and one of the trainings I specifically remember, I remember quite a few, but like a river, I think you were flying, and I'm on a rock, and we're doing the river training, and it was like I was going to jump to the dude that was on the hook. Dennis Bull is on the aircraft. He's like, oh, shit. Hang on, dude. And I specifically didn't grab on because I didn't want to jerk the aircraft, but they were waiting for it. And James was like, oh, it didn't happen. Nice. Let's go get him. So anyway.
Do you remember that?
Is that the one that was going through the rapids and he started getting a little nervous?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what was that, a scenario of plucking someone out of the rapids?
It was, the scenario set up itself. We had a really long river run, and it was a calm I don't want to call it calm, but moving water into some rapids. And the rapids that you were in, it was like legit rapids. And I don't know what class it was, but
Wave train.
yeah, for sure.
Oh, wow.
Like, and you were not, what we learned out of that whole thing, as a matter of fact, me too, you are not going to pick somebody up in a rapid. You either get them before the rapid, or you pick your guy up through the rapid and wait for them to come through the rapid and then drop back down and get them on the back end of the rapid. A little tip and trick for everybody out there. But in this in particular one, it was guys stuck on a rock. That was me and one other dude. And then the guy on the rock was excited, convenient, me,
No.
about the rescue coming.
No.
Who was that, me? And I jumped off the rock toward the rescue men, but missed, hit the water, and now I'm going down through the rapids. And the only reason I did is because I wanted to go through the rapids. Like, let's go.
You missed the rescuer.
Exactly. So, but that was some mega killer training. And that's just one piece of it that these guys were. And night river, night water.
And you guys came back the following year, and we did night swiftwater training.
Yeah.
And
Which I've never done since you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so that was
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
result of an incident that I was on that first year. Here I'm like, greenhorn hoist pilot, got cut loose in June of 16, and like June 15th, approximately, I get a request for family of 5 stuck on a rock, and the runoff was huge, and the rivers were cranking, and it was dark.
There you go.
So
You're going hot.
it's like, all right, so I guess we got to figure this one out.
Okay.
I mean, they were on a rock. It wasn't too bad. Oh, and then I'll add that mother had a 2-year-old.
Of course.
Oh, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
5 people stuck on a rock with a 2-year-old.
Yes.
Boom.
I know.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and at that point, I think I had a lot of fuel on board, so I orbited for a while to burn some fuel off, and I got down there, and the winds were coming down canyon above the river, but for some reason they were going up canyon or up the river. I mean, it was weird down, and so the river wasn't too large, so I had decent reference with the trees on the bank, but. I mean, we sent our RS down there, and he went down initially with the screamer seat to put mom and infant in the screamer suit, and then we just short hauled each one of them over to the bank. But I think I was too low, or I hadn't figured out where that zone underneath the aircraft thing was like to spin. Yeah. And
that sweet spot. Yeah. We know where ours is. Yeah. Right below about 30 feet.
Each person plucked off the rock, spun. So I'd pick them up and we'd drift over to the bank, and we'd dip them in the river a little bit to stop the spin before we set them down in the rock so they weren't spinning. And
Super smart.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good move.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Pro move right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a pretty significant rescue there, man.
Yeah. So it's
family
back
of 5 with a baby.
Back and forth. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
And then the next year, Quinny's up there, and our chief pilot's like, we're going to do night swiftwater training. And they're like, no, we're not. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Was that one at night or daytime?
That was at night.
Nighttime.
At night, okay.
Yeah. Nighttime swiftwater rescue. Like chem lights floating down the river. Dude, it was gnarly.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. It was amazing. Like, hands down, some of the best training that I've been involved with on both ends, where I've learned something out of this while I'm supposed to be given instruction. But it was, for me, being up there, I'll say we were there as more of a, like, check the box. But for all of us, it was that we were there to train together. Oh, it was incredible.
Well, the type of the experience you can then take back to the next organization you go to, because you had some really good rapid training there and some real world stuff, and man, that's awesome.
Because the scenario would be like what I encountered. I mean, these folks would be on a rock, and perhaps they slipped off, the rotor wash pushed them off, or whatever it may be, and then you might have to chase them down the river.
Or the next one might be a family in a minivan that tried to cross a road that had a river going across it, and they're stuck and up to their chests in water, and it's 20 miles an hour. And
the more people pull you off the car, next thing you know, the car's going down the river.
That would be exciting.
Yeah.
Question. So when you pulled all the people off the river, you said you were kind of short hauling them over, dipping in the water to stop the swing. So you get everybody to the shoreline, right? Did you have medical and rescue on shore? So they were waiting for you there for transport down there. So paramedics to assess and, okay, you guys are okay, good to go. Nice.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's like hand salute, and we're out.
Is that part of your mission planning, and you're en route, you see where they are? You guys have medical and other personnel stage.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Yeah, definitely. When we're getting ready to launch, it's where are we taking the individual or group, and who's going to receive? Because we're not going to,
got to have someone there to receive them, take care of them, give them blankets and whatnot. Yeah. And I'm just curious, were they the reporting party themselves on a cell phone? Or did someone else call?
I don't know. I can't remember. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Do you find self-service gets pretty spotty in your response areas, and you do a lot of searching based off of where they started their hike?
You ever been to Montana?
Yeah, no, but I want to go, man.
Yeah. Spotty cell service? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'm amazed at how long my battery lasts down here because I have great cell service. It must be because it's constantly hunting down up there. But,
so that's got to be a challenge. I'm kind of spoiled because we're in our response area. Even when they're on the mountain, their cell phones are working. Everyone's cell phone now the last 5 years. Right. In the past, it was, okay, they started at Humber Park 6 hours ago, and they're overdue. Okay, so we'll start. Okay, what does their vehicle look like? We'll have a deputy check. Is it even still there? Okay, it's still there. All right, they're probably still there. And we do a lot of searching. And it's maybe at night they'll signal us or in the daytime, and they always wait till 10% battery before they call.
Of course.
And so then it's like no way to talk us on to their location like some of them do. If they have enough battery, we'll have dispatch relay to them. And so you might find that you do a lot of searching then based off of you got to put together like an investigation of, okay, here's where they started. Where's the trail go? Do you ever find yourself just following a trail and see if they're on it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Hasty search for sure. Yeah. And actually two of the Real ResQ crew are going to be going to a cell phone forensics class in August. So we could get the data from the carriers and then, plug it into this computer and kind of figure out how to where this ping or...
there's a technology now that they're putting into clothing that can be like RF reflective, and you have a device called a triggerfish, and it is CHP, California Highway Patrol has one right now, and they can search and find somebody's reflective clothing property off of that. A lot of your clothing manufacturers or outdoor clothing manufacturers are incorporating that into their fabric.
A little strip.
Like a strip?
Yeah. They make it fashionably it looks good. But there's a purpose.
We actually there's another one too that we actually utilized on a search. It's a kind of an FBI thing where they can find a cell phone even when it's turned off.
Oh, wow.
Kind of creepy. But we were trying to look for these lost hikers whose battery was dead, and ended up being a deceased hiker. But we found him with that device with his cell phone in his pocket. And so crazy where it's going,
Especially for these guys up in the middle of nowhere. You come over a mountain pass and there's nothing.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I'll share one story because you asked for a story, and it kind of parallels this discussion here. One of the first rescues I did was down at Devil's Bedstead, and this gal was solo climbing this peak, and she got a little turned around and came down the wrong side, and so she's getting into some gnarly terrain and I think it had snowed a bit, so things are slick. And so she gets a little nervous, and she's like, I got to call for help. Picks up her phone, 911, no connection. 12 times, no connection. No service. And then she's like, well, I guess I gotta keep moving. And so she keeps down climbing, slips and falls and tumbles. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how far. Quite a ways. Breaks some bones, lots of lacerations. It's cold, so she's borderline hypothermic, and she still had her cell phone. I think she could barely see because her eye had swelled up so much, but she pulls up her phone. It's like, well, Hail Mary, hits 911. Connection.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and so the 911 center was able to grab the data from her phone, kind of pinpoint roughly where she was, and thankfully she also mentioned, I can see this lake below me, and so we got the request. And I remember when the SAR coordinator called us it's Custer County, Idaho, so that's down Salmon, well, not Salmon, but Chalice and Stanley area. So long haul for us. But coincidentally, we were in the adjoining county on another search, and that was coming up, with some dead ends. And I just returned with a full bag of gas, and they called and said, "Hey, we got this hiker. She's in bad shape. We need a hoist like an hour ago."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, we're 20 minutes away.
Oh, perfect.
We'll be right. We'll be on scene." And so we rallied over there, and we were able to pinpoint her location, thankfully, because she noticed the lake and mentioned that she could see this lake, so we weren't searching around the peak for her. And inserted the RS.
How did you spot her? Did she have did she like light up or anything, or you just saw her on the side of the hill?
Yeah, just whatever her clothing was. I can't remember. And
not like in deep forest or anything. Like when you came up on scene, you're like, holy cow, there she is.
Scree field, rocky. I mean, no vegetation.
Right wow.
But inserted RS. He packaged her up. We screamer suited her out. So pretty routine there, except for her she had a space blanket to stay warm.
Oh, nice.
It kind of blew loose.
Yeah.
And so I'm making my approach there with the to retrieve them, and here comes a space blanket. I'm like, oh, well, let's back off of that one.
That tail rotor magnet.
Yeah, it flies up and then just like lands on the rock like helicopter height. I'm like, well, that's not gonna do. So I get up a little higher and I hover over it and kind of, push it and eventually just push it over the ridge. And I'm like, oh, all right, now we can go get them. But so we took it down to wait for life flight, but they were a long time out. So we took her directly to the hospital because she was in need of being in the
absolutely.
ER.
Yep.
Can I ask a question about that one? And I know part of the answer, but I'd like to hear it from you. Because you said you were mentioning for life flight coming in. One of the things that I remember hearing about you guys is that you would, based on the life flight and other air ambulance assets in the area, you guys go do the rescue part of it and then land in an area where another bird can land next door.
Correct.
And then you transfer from them. So, and I know it's public use versus paid, I guess.
Well, kinda, yeah. So we're an ALS helicopter with a non-transport certificate. So,
got it.
And we don't want to step on their toes. We want to just hoist the injured subject and deliver it to the air ambulance or ground ambulance and go. But if we got to ask the question, what's the best interest of the patient? So if they need to be in a hospital, we go to the hospital, and the air ambulances that we work with, we chat with them on the radio. It's like this they're pretty banged up. They need better care here, and they're like, yeah, please just go.
Yeah, roll.
So,
nice.
Sometimes that's what makes the difference.
And that's super cool that they're on board with that too. Because the last thing you want to do is, pull somebody out and then they're, what are you doing? You're not supposed to transport. And you're like, bro, what are you doing? So no, it's good to know that you have support of that. And I like I said, I remember hearing a bit of that, and I wasn't sure how that was going. So that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you guys use at night? Do you guys use a spotlight, a FLIR, combination, NVGs?
Pilots are on NVGs. Rear air crew may or may not be. If we're out searching, we'll use the MX-10 IR searching for subjects. If we're going to a hoist, we got the track beam to illuminate the scene. And then it's just kind of rescue specialist SO preference as far as do they want to be a goggles or not. Some like it, some don't. And yeah.
Okay.
So,
Options. I like options.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually thinking of going to this handheld FLIR, this little handheld unit.
Oh, nice.
Instead of, we don't fly with the whole turret on there on the aircraft. So, but rarely have we needed it at night. We've been pretty fortunate. Almost everybody has been where they say their GPS was because their phone's working pretty good. So it's nice to have that little option, little handheld, instead of that big 60-plus pound turret out there on the aircraft. So catch bad guys with those, Yeah. Look for guys that don't want to be found with that. Yeah.
Perfect.
So what would James Hickman today say to brand new private pilot certificate James Hickman so many years ago? What advice do you have for younger pilots, guys want to come in, guys and gals want to get into what you're doing? There are people listening right now and saying, I want to do that. We heard your journey, your story, but do you have anything, that what would you say? Where would you direct them to go to start to look into, to get a job with the type of flying that would help utilize the skills that you have now?
Yeah. First off, it's a long process as you know, and you just got to keep your head down and march forward. That's a lot of folks give up, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel and it does get brighter. So just keep pushing. And in terms of flying search and rescue, getting that for our operation is like getting that mountain experience. Learning how to fly in the mountains. It's my background. I was an instructor up there. We'd go play in the mountains in the Schweitzer. But Northwest Montana or the Flat Valley is essentially the mountains. And and then of course going up to Denali and flying in Alaska was helpful. But the other big thing is really getting comfortable flying at night. Making sure you're working towards those 100+ hours of nighttime, which is a challenge to get. And so any of that, any experience you can get with the night vision goggles is super helpful.
Yeah.
But,
So let's just say you need a new pilot. And let's say I'm coming to you as a potential candidate. What is some advice? What do you want to see in a new pilot that's coming before you? Not just all those important benchmarks. You got to hit that experience, but what advice would you give to someone? Because you're a small organization, you got to be the right fit. What are you looking for? Personality, work ethic wise, and so forth. You could have a stellar resume. You got all this great experience, but what's going to set someone else aside and different from this guy with 10,000 hours?
Yeah, we just went through the process of hiring a pilot, and
good.
We got a lot of resumes, as you can imagine.
Yeah,
and we had some incredible applicants.
I can imagine.
I was embarrassed, looking at my resume up against some of these applicants. And, yeah. So, but you got to have that. You got to be willing to be a part of the team and work with your crew members and trust them and all that stuff. So having those skills, which it's not everybody has those teamwork skills. So. What else? Gosh, I can't think of anything at the moment. But
yeah, definitely, like you said, it's to find that right personality. A lot of times, you might find yourself accepting an applicant with quite a few less hours, but this guy or gal is very interpersonal. This person will fit in, long term. Yeah, because that's a challenge a lot of days now. It's you might have the good resume, but maybe this guy might be a bad fit.
So what we kind of did, and I think we interviewed 6 candidates, and we'd have a formal interview, and then I'd go fly with them, see how they fly, but then cut them loose to the crew, And
nice.
Yeah, so it was either an informal dinner or lunch at the hangar, and just kind of sit back and let the crew ask the questions
as
and,
a social setting. And
see how they interact with everybody.
That's so smart. That's so important to make sure you pick that right person. Yeah.
And then the other thing is, got to live in the Flathead Valley. So you got to live within 30 minutes of the airport, and Kalispell, Whitefish, Columbia Falls, Flathead Valley is expensive to move to and live in now, just like everywhere else. So that's a commitment, and thankfully the pilot we did end up hiring lives in Whitefish. So
nice. Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So.
Well, guys, we're gonna land this thing. We're right at the end here. So, Quinny, anything else you got to add to any questions? Anything else?
No, I'm super stoked to see you, man. I will. You know what? You didn't boast on you. I appreciate that, and I'm gonna boast on you though. You are one badass pilot, dude. I have flown with you in many times, and every time I get in the aircraft, I love to fly with you. Absolutely love it, and it's kind of interesting when you were like, you looked at this opportunity to go to Two Bear, and you're like, man, I don't know. I want to go experience this and this. No, dude, you made the right choice because you've done stuff in that helicopter that other pilots only dream about doing.
Oh, sure.
And, dude, freaking Knuckles, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm happy to call you friend, brother. It's awesome.
That's so cool. You guys knew each other already and have that existing friendship and knowledge of each other. That's great.
We had some fun back in the day.
We did. In the air and not in the air.
Right? Yeah. Maybe we can dive into that on your podcast.
Well, we can talk about it in 20 minutes?
Yeah, that's right. Beers, let's go.
Yeah.
It's time.
All right. Well, James, thanks again for making the time to be with us today and telling us about your fantastic career and what you do currently. You're doing meaningful work that's, I'm sure, much appreciated by those that you get home and get off the mountain or get off the rapids there. Great stories, great experience. We just loved having you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to
for
be
being
here
with us. And looking forward to catching up and taking this on outside. Yeah.
This wasn't too bad. I was pretty nervous all morning for this podcast.
Oh, yeah. It's easy. It's great. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks. We're going to wrap this up. We'll see you. Take care.
We're out of here.
We're out of here.
This is the end of our conversation with James Hickman. Stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors.
Thank you to our sponsor, Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over $150 million in inventory globally, 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Bell is proud to sponsor Vertical Helicasts and their vision to hold meaningful mission, safety, and best practice conversations in the helicopter industry. The lessons learned from these conversations will undoubtedly shape the future of both new and veteran helicopter operators.
Thank you to our sponsor, Collins Aerospace Goodrich. Whether your mission is saving lives or servicing high-value assets, Collins Aerospace's Goodrich hoists stay ready to assist. Features such as single-point payout reduce the potential for hoist-induced load swings, enhancing overall safety.
Thank you for supporting the sponsors who make these conversations possible. I want to encourage you all to check out the Vertical YouTube page. The Vertical YouTube page contains a ton of amazing content created by the world's most talented photographers and videographers. This content's shot in some of the world's most beautiful locations. To find the Vertical YouTube page, go to YouTube and enter Vertical Magazine in the search bar. We'll catch you on the next episode series where we sit down with Doctor of Physical Therapy who specializes in spinal care, Dr. Daphne Ryan, who spent her career keeping naval aviators flying, including the Blue Angels pilots. As aviators, we're no strangers to back and neck pain. So during the conversation, we get to unpack her career and experiences, which includes some information that's critical to staying physically able to sit in the seats required in public safety aviation. Catch you then. Cheers.
Time to close up the hangar. Thanks for joining us on the Hangar Z Podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts.